Welcome to my channel. If you're here today listening to me, then somewhere deep in your heart you've likely felt something that's hard to name. Have you ever felt like your emotions, your burning tears, your raging anger, or your trembling fear were taken, twisted, and turned into a weapon against you? Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, wind howling around you, rain lashing against your face. As you try to scream your truth, you cry out your pain, your joy, or simply your authentic self. But then someone steps forward, snatches your voice from your lips, twists it like a rope, and uses it to bind you. This is not a natural storm. This is a storm created by a person, a narcissist. Today we are stepping into a journey together. In this video, I will take you through the darkest corners of human psychology, the place where your emotions, the most precious part of who you are turned into tools of manipulation, control, and self-doubt. But I'm not just here to tell you how it happens, no. I'm here to show you why you feel drained to your very core, why you've started questioning whether you're the one at fault, and most importantly, how you can reclaim control over the fire in your soul. So, take a deep breath, place a hand over your heart if you need to, because we're about to step into a story, your story, my story, and the story of so many of us. The story of how a narcissist turns your own emotions against you. What are emotions to you? Take a moment to think about it. To me, emotions are like the fire in the hearth of your soul. They warm you on cold winter days, illuminate the dark corners of life, and connect you to those around you, to family, to friends, and even to yourself. When you laugh, that fire blazes bright. When you cry, it's like glowing embers, burning slow but deep. Emotions are what make you human. They are what separate you from an unfeeling machine. But now, imagine this. You walk into a room carrying that fire, warm, genuine, and alive. You believe it will be welcomed, cherished. But then, standing there is someone, a narcissist. And they don't see your fire as a light to be shared. No, to them, it's something to fan into an uncontrollable blaze, to burn you with, to reduce it to ashes in the palm of their hand. Have you ever experienced that? You cry because you're hurt, maybe from a cold remark, an act of indifference, and instead of comfort, you're met with a scornful look and a dagger of a sentence. Why do you always have to be so dramatic? Are you trying to make me feel bad? Or maybe you get angry because you have every right to be, and they turn to you with a smirk. Oh, here we go again. More manipulation. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but these are my real emotions. I'm not pretending. I'm not acting. And you're right, absolutely right. But here's the brutal truth we have to face. To a narcissist, your emotions are not treasures to be valued. They are your Achilles heel, a weakness to exploit, a door to kick down so they can seize control of the game. And the most painful part, you never invited them to do this. You are simply living, feeling, just like any other human being. But to them, your authenticity is a threat. And they won't stop until they twist it into something warped, ugly, and completely unrecognizable as your own. Now let's go even deeper. Imagine you are a dancer stepping onto the stage of your own life. You move, letting your emotions guide every step, sometimes light and joyful, sometimes slow and heavy with pain. But this stage, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to them, the narcissist. And they are the director, the audience, the everything. You dance, and they shout. You're too loud. Are you just desperate for attention? So you stop. You stand still in the shadows, trying to keep your legs from shaking. And then they growl. Why are you so selfish? Why won't you open up to me? Do you hear it? That's the double bind. A trap so masterfully designed that you can never win. If you show your emotions, if your tears fall from pain, if your voice trembles with anger, if your eyes show even a flicker of fear, they will pounce. Oh, so you're manipulating me now, trying to make me feel guilty? They will mock you. Or worse, they will lash out, telling you that you're too sensitive, that you have no right to feel the way you do. But what if you do the opposite? What if you lock your emotions away, put on a mask of indifference, and retreat into the shadows to protect yourself? They still won't leave you alone. Instead, they'll turn to you and say, "Why are you so cold? Are you punishing me with your silence? More manipulative games, huh? Do you see it now? This is not a fair game. The rules are written by them, and there is only one goal: to keep you trapped, confused, powerless, and doubting yourself." Maybe you've tried everything, shouting, staying silent, crying, even laughing just to diffuse the situation. But nothing works. Why? Because in their world, you are not allowed to have emotions without being punished for them. I'd bet many of us have been there, standing at a crossroads, unsure whether to move forward or turn back, because every path leads to an invisible wall. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're trapped in a cycle where no matter what you do, the outcome is always blame and pain. If you have, then know this: you are not alone. This is the trap the narcissist sets, and they are masters at making you believe that it's all your fault. Why do they do this? Why would someone look at your raw, honest pain and turn it into an accusation? To understand that, we need to look deep into the soul of a narcissist, a place even they dare not confront. Imagine a narcissist as a broken mirror. On the outside, they polish the surface to appear flawless, grand, and perfect, an image they want the world to admire. But on the inside, cracks run deep, sharp, jagged, and dangerous. They cannot bear to look at those cracks because they remind them of a truth they have buried. They are not perfect. They are not grand. And inside them lies a deep, unbearable shame, one they refuse to acknowledge. And then you appear, with your emotions shining like a blinding spotlight. When you cry, when you're angry, when you're hurt, that light illuminates the cracks they desperately try to hide. It exposes them, it threatens them. But instead of facing themselves, what do? They project. What is projection? Projection is when they take their toxic, manipulative, shameful traits and throw them onto you. They call you the manipulator. But think about it. Who's really pulling the strings in this relationship? They accuse you of making them feel bad. But ask yourself, who's the one constantly controlling every emotional space between you? Here's a truth I want you to engrave into your mind. When they accuse you, they are often describing themselves. Think back to the last time you were called manipulative just because you cried, or selfish just because you stayed silent. Didn't those accusations feel more like a confession than an insult? They fear your emotions, not because they hurt them, but because they remind them of who they truly are, someone they can never accept. And here's the greatest irony: they don't do this because they lack emotions. No, a narcissist is not emotionless. They do have emotions, but those emotions are warped by shame and an overwhelming fear of judgment. When you express your emotions, it's like holding up a mirror to their face, and they hate it. They hate being reminded that they are not the perfect, godlike figure they imagine themselves to be. So instead of apologizing, instead of self-reflecting, they do the only thing they know. They point at you and say, "This is your fault. You are the villain in this story." Now, let's take a look at the price we pay for staying in this trap too long. Have you ever felt like a flower pressed beneath glass? At first, you bloom, full of life and vibrancy, but over time, the pressure weighs down on you, day by day, month by month, year by year, until you shrink, wither, and forget just how beautiful you once were. When you are constantly told that your emotions are wrong, that they are manipulative, that they should not exist, what happens? You begin to doubt yourself. You start asking yourself, am I really too sensitive? Am I wrong to feel pain? You begin to suppress, not because you want to, but because you have no other choice. You lock away your tears. You swallow your anger, and you learn to wear a mask just to survive. But if you grew up with a narcissist, perhaps a parent, someone you once thought would love and protect you, then the wound is even deeper. Imagine being a child with bright, innocent eyes and an open heart, running to your mother or father for comfort when you're sad, but instead of warm arms, you receive a cold stare, a shrug, or worse, words like, "Stop making such a fuss, you just want attention, don't you?" From a young age, you were taught that your emotions were a burden, something shameful. You learned to lock them away, not because you wanted to, but because it was the only way to feel loved, accepted, and safe in your little world. But at what cost? A numb heart, a suffocated soul, and sometimes scars that never bleed. Anxiety, depression, coping mechanisms you use to numb the pain. Alcohol, food, complete silence. Now, take a moment and ask yourself, how many pieces of yourself have you buried just to keep the peace with a narcissist? How many times have you swallowed your true emotions just to avoid accusations, fights, or simply being seen as the villain? If you've ever been there, if you are still there, then listen to me. This is not your fault. You are not wrong for feeling. You are simply trying to survive in a world where your emotions have been treated as a threat. So, what do we do? When you're caught in the double bind, when your emotions are turned into weapons, when you feel like a bird trapped in a cage, how do you break free? The good news is, you don't have to win their game. You don't have to dance to their rhythm anymore. You just need to walk off the stage. And that begins with one word: acceptance. But don't misunderstand me. Radical acceptance is not surrender. It is not lowering your head and saying, "Fine, I lose." No, it is standing tall, looking them in the eye, or at least looking at yourself in the mirror, and saying, "I see this game, I understand your rules, and I am not playing anymore." Acceptance does not mean you agree with how they treat you. It does not mean you like being called manipulative, mocked, or invalidated. It simply means you recognize the truth. In a relationship with a narcissist, your emotions will never be given space to breathe. And the moment you understand that, you begin to take your power back. How do you do that? Find safe spaces. Maybe it's a close friend, someone who lets you cry without judgment. Maybe it's a journal where you write everything you're afraid to say out loud. Maybe it's just a quiet corner in your home where you sit with yourself and let your emotions flow without fear, without shame. Because here's the most important thing I want you to remember. Your emotions are not weapons. They are not weaknesses. They are your power, the fire no one can extinguish unless you let them. You do not need their permission to cry, to be angry, to feel. You never did, and you never will. So start today. Allow yourself to feel, not to please anyone else, but to heal yourself. You deserve that. You have always deserved that. My friends, we have walked through the darkness. We have seen how narcissists turn your emotions into weapons and why you feel drained and lost. But this is not the end. This is where you rise, not by fighting them, but by reclaiming yourself. As someone who has studied human psychology deeply, I want to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, so that you don't just survive but rise from the ashes of those wounds. First, hear this from Carl Gustav Jung, the great psychologist who once said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Did you hear that clearly? The narcissist may have hurt you, may have made you doubt your worth, but they do not define you. You are the one holding the pen to your own story. So, what is the first step? Stop seeking validation from them. They will never give it to you. Not because you are unworthy, but because they are incapable of it. Psychologist Harriet Lerner once stated, "Healing begins when you stop waiting for an apology you will never receive. Let go of the illusion that they will change. That is the first door you close to open the path to your own freedom." Next, build a fortress for your emotions. Do not let them wander in the land of the narcissist where they will be trampled. Find a safe space, a trusted friend, a therapist, or even just a journal where you can pour out your heart without judgment. This is not running away, it is reclaiming your territory. As Brené Brown, an expert on courage and vulnerability, said, "Owning your story is the bravest thing you will ever do." When you tell your story, whether through words or writing, you regain control. You transform pain into power, tears into a fire that no one can extinguish. Finally, remember that you do not need to fight to prove yourself right. The narcissist wants to pull you into their battlefield, but you have the power to step away. Accepting that they will never understand you is not a loss. It is a victory. You are choosing freedom over chains. Stand tall, take a deep breath, and say to yourself, I am enough. This is how you rise, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat, until you are yourself again, stronger than ever before. We've been on a long journey together today, haven't we? We've looked at how narcissists try to take the fire in your soul, trying to extinguish it, trying to make you believe it is something to be ashamed of. But I want you to remember this. They can blow on that fire, they can make it flicker, but they can never take it away completely. It still burns within you, strong, resilient, and indestructible. Let that fire shine again, not for them, not to prove anything, but for yourself, for the real you, the one who has fought, survived, and is still standing after everything. I want to hear your story. In the comments below, share with me, how have your own emotions ever turned against you? What helped you overcome it? And if this video resonated with you, if it spoke a truth from your own life, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Thank you for being here today. Keep your fire burning. I believe in you.